won't they switch back to the Detroit water source if that was a better source of water? I thought the idea was to save money, but how are they saving money if your bill's going up? Like, I'm not understanding the logic for it.
They have never disclosed how much money this has cost. They haven't. They did switch us back about 3 weeks ago. The problem being is they waited 16 months to do so, and our infrastructure that's 90 years old on average is so damaged that the lead is still going to leach into the water. The hope is that the less caustic Detroit water will slow it down. But the problem being here is we're going to be on Detroit for about 9 months before we get the new pipeline, and all this is going to start all over again.
What new
And
pipeline to what?
the pipeline comes from Lake Huron, which is where the Detroit source is. However, our genius city seems to think it's a good idea to save money again. And instead of treating the water at the source like every other city does, they're going to pipe in 70 miles of untreated water, which, for less than a technical term, is going to be bacteria pooping on itself for 70 miles. And then it comes to the same treatment plant that messed up the Flint River water and treated in the same aggressive fashion. So we're going to get the same acid pumped back through. Now, this is the Karagandhi Water Authority, the KWA. Our mayor sits as chairperson of the KWA, which is a huge conflict of interest because their plan was to use the Flint River for 2 years to try to save money before we go to the KWA. The underlying reason, we believe, is that nobody had any kind of confidence in our treatment plant, which hadn't been used to treat water for the whole city for 50 years. They wanted to build confidence, basically, and to test to make sure we could treat the water before they put this, multi-million dollar, I think it's valued at $600 million, this pipeline through. So they used it as an experiment, and we were a bunch of lab rats. Obviously, the experiment failed, and we are in for another just mess. And I think that they knew that if they switched back to Detroit like we were screaming for, people were going to fight the KWA coming in and want to stay on Detroit, which is the truth. We don't want another unproven water source. We don't want the 70 miles of bacteria water coming through and our plant treating it in the same fashion they just did.
Why do they want that?
Because they will make a ton of money. They will have complete control. Our Genesee County Drain Commissioner, our state representative, one of them, our president of city council, and our mayor sit on this board, along with a lot of really wealthy business people.
And is it a private water company or something?
The door opener for privatization. They brought Veolia in at the beginning of the year, and they came and valued the pipeline, which that's the last thing we need, is for them to take over and make it worse than it already has been. So they stand to make a ton of money if they sell that pipeline and our treatment plant off, like the room to the water plant, and talked about just taking over everything. They run the water plant. The only reason it didn't happen is because they didn't have anybody that was properly licensed in Michigan who worked for Veolia to be able to do that. So that's the only thing that stopped it from happening back in February.